Welcome, everyone. I am Marcela Howell. I'm the president and CEO of In Our Own Voice, National Black Women's Reproductive Justice Agenda, which is a national state partnership with 8 Black women's reproductive justice organizations. We have the goal of lifting up the voices of Black leaders on issues that impact our lives. And later today, in a little bit, I'm going to introduce 2 of the great Black leaders who are working on voter engagement and get out the vote. So first, I want to just describe myself. We have ASL interpretation available on screen throughout the program. You can access captions by clicking the CC button on the menu of your video. We also have Spanish interpretation available on the number at the bottom of the screen, so you can just look down there. So today I am wearing I'm a Black woman. I have short, curly Black hair, sort of medium complexion. I am wearing a burgundy sweater with a cowl neck and a necklace that you can't quite see because of the way the video is, but I'm just letting you know that I actually got a little gold on here. So today we are welcoming for our discussion, we are going to be talking about the midterm elections, which are crucial. Everybody keeps talking about it. And so today we're going to talk about the Get Out the Vote, or GOTV, efforts in the midterm elections that are important for reproductive justice efforts around the country. So I want to introduce LaTosha Brown from Black Voters Matter, and Melanie Campbell, who is the esteemed leader of the National Coalition on Black Civic Participation. So I would like to have both of you just do a physical introduction of yourselves, give your pronouns, which I forgot, mine are she and her, and your title and your organization to start with. So LaTosha, why don't you start?
Okay, greetings. Greetings, everyone that's watching this. My name is LaTosha Brown. I'm co-founder of Black Voters Matter. I am a dark brown Black woman wearing glasses and some curly multi-brown colored hair in a Black dress, sitting in my car because we are in these streets because today is the first day of early voting. My organization is a power building organization that's based in Alabama. I go by she, her pronouns, and I'm super, super excited for this discussion and conversation today.
Thank you very much. Melanie? You're on mute, Melanie.
Hello. Hi, Marcela. Thank you so very much for the invitation to join you today. I am the head of my president and CEO of the National Coalition on Black Civic Participation and convener of the Black Women's Roundtable. I am wearing this red top today with my red lipstick and my semi-red red-brown hair and my orange glasses. Try to bring some sunshine to my life and hopefully others, and just and so glad to always be here with my sister in the movement, LaTosha Brown. We were talking earlier this morning, LaTosha, right?
That's right.
And so good to be here. And just she, her.
Thank you very much, both of you. I forgot to mention that I'm also wearing glasses, so we got 3 powerful Black women with glasses on today. Yes. And so let's just get right into this. Here's my first question. We have been hearing all the time that this is an important election of our lives, but there are some specific reasons why the midterms are crucial today. And I'm interested, since both of you have been out meeting voters over the last couple of weeks, what are you hearing from voters as we get closer to Election Day?
You want to? Okay. Well, when we go for okay. Well, just coming out of Georgia, right? Has been in Ohio and Florida and Georgia. We're doing this Power the Ballot tour, Get Out the Vote tour. But part of it is just to go in and celebrate with folks and lift people up, because there's a lot of stress out there. What I hear a lot is that people are really stressed for various reasons. And so part of what we have to do is own that in a way that you can hear people. You can't talk about voting and not talk about what's going on with people's lives right now, like what they're dealing with. And so that's a lot of what I've heard, even in those 3 states. And then you get to issues, right? And depending on who you talk about, people are concerned about where this country's going, and concerned about a lot of the attacks, and then dealing with bread and butter issues. And as women and young women are talking about the issue around choice, around concern about not having control of their bodies, dealing with just access. So those issues you're hearing, and then just feeling frustrated that not all of what they thought would have happened has happened. But yet there's still within that a determination that, hey, we got to keep fighting, because we're not going to allow anybody to push Black people back. But also dealing with the day-to-day of just, hey, I can't make my rent, I can't pay my bills. And so over these 2 weeks I've been on the road, that's what I'm hearing. And so it's not one thing. It's not one or two, check a box, 1 or 2 issues, right? We talk about power to ballot, but it's really more to it than that. And we cannot underestimate the impact of just people having a lot of stress in their lives is we're trying to motivate them and get them involved. So that's kind of like in a nutshell what I'm hearing so far.
LaTosha?
I agree with Mel. I think what we're hearing the same thing. People are frustrated, they're tired. There's a lot of anxiety and uncertainty. The 3 issues that continue to come up, which I think Melanie just kind of mentioned. I think there are 3 things. One, economic insecurity. People really are trying to figure out how are they going to survive in these rising prices when things are already tight for many families, particularly many working class folks. The second thing over and over and over we keep hearing is, particularly from young people, is around criminal justice reform and the need for real criminal justice reform, which has not passed, right? And then we're hearing voting rights. I'm hearing about voting rights from far more people, not just the regular voting activists. People know that there is an anti-democratic movement underway in this nation. Black folk ain't confused. We recognize that there is a force of there's a source of people who are literally trying to take away our democratic rights and to make it harder for us to vote. And that becomes a concern. And so, we hear these issues over and over again, including healthcare, all the things that people care about, but it's all boiled down to people are really concerned around how is the leadership in this country going to move us forward. People don't want to go backwards. That is what I'm hearing more than anything, whether it's on healthcare, whether it's on criminal justice reform, climate change. There is a desire for people to see something new and different, or something that really is going to take us forward. There's a lot of frustration in this bantering back and forth. That people feel like it's just not really getting us anywhere, right? And so when we're talking to folks, we're really trying to really speak to them and how critical this moment is.
Okay. So I noticed that one of the things that, the reporters, the press keeps talking about is how the Republican Party is really enthusiastic and the Democratic Party is not very enthusiastic. What are you hearing? What are you seeing in this? Is there really an enthusiasm gap among Black voters, for instance, regardless of what party they identify with? Are they really enthusiastic about this election?
One of the things I think that is a challenge is when you hear that about the polls, because they don't talk to us enough. So you're hearing about the polls and who's more enthusiastic over the other. I think earlier this year, I felt that more in the primary season than I am feeling it as we're going to the general election. things that LaTosha brought up, I think there's a sense of determination that we're going to have to use this balance. It's always harder in the midterm historically anyway, but I believe that we're going to see, based on who's registering to vote, there's some other kinds of trends that tell you that there's enthusiasm. I'm nonpartisan, but just looking at it from a political analyst standpoint, I think that you are starting to see it. I do believe Roe v. Wade. We know from a year ago, voting rights, and LaTosha, hitting those streets early in that, and us getting together and fighting together around it. So I think there's going to be, I think if I had to have a crystal ball, I think that women, Black women specifically, are going to have to, once doggone again, I was going to say another word, but I'm going to clean my mouth. Once again, have to be super women and try to move our communities forward. There's this whole spin out there about the Black men versus Black women and all. There's some distraction that's impacting us that we're pushing against that. I've seen LaTosha Cliff and others, we've been trying to really get our brothers to own their power, right, and believe that they had it. And at the end of the day, the majority of who votes that way for the Democrats, and it's just a fact, not pushing, is that majority of Black women and Black men vote for the Democrats. The question is, what are they going to do? What are they doing in these last few weeks, and to make sure people get that they need to take one more chance on them. In some places, that's going to be, it's difficult. So I think there is enough enthusiasm for the numbers to move better than they were. Would they be as good as 2018 when people really saw the threat after 2 years of Donald Trump? Is whether or not folks feel that the stress of it all can overcome the stress of all of what people are dealing with, to feel like I'm gonna come out one more time with this vote to see that it may move some element of forward. But we can't keep doing. I'm frustrated. Can I just be honest about a lot of what I've seen and what people are going through, and just even those of us who do this work having to do it with less in a time where the democracy is under threat makes no sense to me. So there is some November 9th meetings that got to happen, and some come to Jesus conversations, excuse my, for this long term, for some of this to change.
Yeah. LaTosha?
I ditto to everything Melanie just said. I think I want to pick up on her last point. One of the things that I think has been very frustrating and even very disappointing is that the current kind of political infrastructure is operating like we just in some normal election cycles. Like this is just about the Democrats and Republicans, about this candidate, this candidate. We are so far beyond that. We have one political party in this country, and I'm not saying this in a way to be partisan. I'm saying it in a way to be factual. That we've got one political party in this country that has decided that they are literally going to integrate anti-Blackness and racism as part of their strategy and their structure. And the leadership from the highest levels on down have been literally blowing the dog whistle around racism and attacking communities of color. In addition to that, we've been seeing that particularly around reproductive rights. This isn't about abortion. This is literally about, that's one outcome of it, but this is really around the control over women's bodies and whether we in fact have agency, right? We have agency over our own bodies and our own reproductive health. The same people who literally refuse to expand ACA in healthcare are now saying that they got some concern about life when everything about their policy so far has been anti-human being, anti-life, anti-rights. And so I'm raising this because this isn't a moment that we can actually continue to be in these boxes of we're going to have these polite politics and that we're going to create these false equivalencies. It's just one party or the other party. We are literally looking at a political party right now that is trying to kill us. And that is not hyperbole. They're literally trying to kill us. We're seeing there are 8 hospitals that have closed in Georgia currently, right? And another hospital that is on the brink of closing in this state, when we're looking at the refusal to expand healthcare in the ACA, or some folks call Obamacare in the state of Georgia, that's over $1 billion of not only income, but also of health care access that our people are being denied. When we're looking at places like in Florida, where you've got a Republican Governor DeSantis, who has actually created a whole different force, like a police force, to actually enforce voting rights. We have to really recognize what time it is. This isn't the moment for us to really think about the tit and tat of, oh, we're just going to say the policy, the tweaks. The policy is one fight, but we are fighting something far, far more dangerous and more grave, that it literally seeks to undermine democracy, and all of those other rights that we're talking about is a moot point if we're not talking about the basic fundamental access to the ballot. And so in this moment, what people need to care about is, you need to care about your freedom, right? And your ability to be able to weigh in on policies that impact your livelihood. You need to be caring about when somebody says that you don't even have control over your own body. You need to be care about those that are actually working against, where there is that literally at the same time that they were getting PPP loans, hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars for themselves, that they're literally working against for some people to get relief as small as $10,000 of student loan debt. You need to be worried about those folks who actually have an agenda, that if it is not about supporting the white elite, they're literally doing everything they can to work against that. That is what time it is. That's where we are in this moment.
So let's talk about those two things, voting rights and reproductive health care. We had the Supreme Court who ruled, just basically overturned Roe v. Wade, a policy that had been in place for almost 50 years. Then we have voting rights, where we have seen that being eroded. It did not start in 2020. It goes way back when the Supreme Court, I might add, gutted the Voting Rights Act and allowed states to start passing all of these voter restriction laws, which we know were targeted at Black voters. So we have both of those two things going on right now, and we've had voter restriction laws that have gotten even worse. We've got the overturning of Roe and all these abortion bans and restrictions. What about young people? Are young people really keyed into those two things and understand that this election is about freedom in this country?
Well, I'll just say, I think young people are the energy. I think some of what we have to really recognize is that mighty rivers are filled drop by drop. And so just because we don't see hundreds of thousands of people out in the streets, although I think this is a moment that we should be out in the streets, what we are seeing, even as we're working with, there are young people who have been activated by George Floyd, that the George Floyd uprisings, that are still doing the work, that they are building, that fundamentally this whole political landscape has been dominated by baby boomers. And so now we're in this moment of a transition where you've got an electorate or a political landscape that is actually younger and browner. And so what we're seeing, part of what we're seeing with this voter suppression, is not because we're losing, it's because we're winning. And a lot of that victory is being propelled by young voters and new voters and communities of color that are coming out in record numbers. Now, we know that with this process, there are ebbs and flows. So are we at the numbers we need to be yet? No, I don't think so. Not in light of the biggest threat that we have. But what I do know, and who I work with, is I've been working with young women and men every single day who are literally out knocking on doors. We have a campaign going on right now called the Black Youth Renaissance, that they're going around the state of Georgia. They've already been in contact with 40,000 young people on college campuses, and the goal is to get another 40,000 in the next 23 days. And so part of what is happening is, this is something that this isn't the blame game moment. This is the moment, all hands on deck. We need the super voter. We need the unfrequent voter. We need the first time voter, and recognize. And I think that the work specifically, as I think about Melanie, Melanie pulled me, part of being in this work and my leadership being nurtured came years ago with Black Youth Vote, that I needed an organization. I wanted to do something, but I didn't know what to do. And so there was an organization that was there to actually nurture and give me space and to give me mentorship and be able to put me with my peers. And so we're seeing that, and we need more of that. And it's going to take more investment and more connection. But I do believe that we're in a moment that we're on the rise. I want it to be more. I think more people need to get engaged. But I am seeing some amazing young people on the ground that's getting work done.
And I would say ditto, and I tell you, and LaTosha is an example of somebody who continues to pay it back or pay it forward, and that's what we have to do. Our young people, so a lot of what we were hearing like over the summer, it's like we don't know what to do, right? They know we got to do something. They felt the threat. And so part of it is to make sure that we continue to create space for them to continue to lead and support the new things that come along, because there's no movement if you don't continue to institution build, as an example. Mm-hmm. So young people who have different organizations they're doing work, and I know LaTosha does it through Black Women Matter. We do all we can through the coalition and through Black Youth Vote. That's the other part of it. And so being able, because you got to give young people the ability. That's what happened when any of us came along. And knowing it's not all the same, but there's some basic tenets to that. And then I think that the biggest challenge that I think we're going to have is also the fact that we do have, even in all that we do, in all that they do, we're still facing voter suppression. We're still facing, you mentioned my home state of Florida with that governor down there putting together, police force basically to suppress voters in the state of Florida. And so part of what we also are having to deal with and what we've been doing and trying to do is get young people to become poll workers. You hear about the people being threatened and folks are quitting. Be poll workers, be poll monitors, be out there. Helen got and Deborah, all them down there. They got all these young people. And so we were out in Clayton County, and the young people were out there knocking them doors and really, so they get it. But we also, I'm seasoned in this, continuously find ways for young people to take their power and to believe they have it. Because part of it, the frustration, and is like, when you've been in it a while, you kind of know things are going to do, not always going to be. But you got to have young people who are going to push the envelope and be able to know it's okay to push the envelope. So we're inside, outside. But this moment that we're in, if this election, I'm praying it's not going to be as much of a mixed bag as my gut is telling me. But the mixed bag is not just about one party over other. It is truly about, you mentioned, going after women's right to control our bodies, going after voting rights. Those two things, along with the ability to control decisions about elections where elections won't matter, we are no longer in this representative democracy at all. We're in a situation where a few white males, mostly, and a few white women too, right? But a few white men who say they don't like the structure, so therefore we will destroy the structure. It was what Donald Trump just tapped into what was there. Mm-hmm. And the diversity of this country and the black and brownness of the country is part of that. And then replacement theory, all of this stuff is connected, right? To being able to have some people walk into that polling place, and are they going to vote for inclusive democracy, or they're going to vote for an autocracy, a minority rule? Because if we can't make white women have more babies, right? And I'm not being disrespectful, but it's the truth. Then we're going to force that. Well, we know you're going to have more brown babies. You're going to have more black babies, right? But you're also setting up for us to die, as LaTosha talked about. You can't get access to healthcare, or criminalized, and we get more of us locked up. So we are in this crisis moment that is very different than everything I've ever lived through, right? And we are going to keep fighting. LaTosha said we win it, and we got to keep winning, because the alternative is what? Right? To live like we're in an apartheid state. And refuse to concede to that.
So let's take a moment and have each of you tell us exactly what your efforts have been. I know, Melanie, you have a campaign that's called #AreYouVoteReady. Tell us a little bit about what that is and what it means to voters. What are you trying to get them to do?
Thank you, Marcela. The Are You Vote Ready is a part of our Unity Black Voting and Power Building campaign. It's a national campaign. We're working in 11 states. And the Are You Vote Ready portion was really to get people to prepare themselves to vote, to check your voter registration status because of the voter suppression laws in many states. The concern is that people be prepared to vote. Check your status. Make sure that you're registered. You haven't been purged. Make sure you know where to go vote. Try to get folks to inoculate themselves from their vote not being counted or not even being able to cast a ballot. And so now, we also over the summer continue to fight around our rights and freedoms through our Black women leaders and allies work that we work with you on, and to make sure that we lifted those issues. And so now we're in the final phase of really where we're doing this power of the ballot, get out the vote and organizing work in 5 states. And so we're in not Alabama, but in Florida and Georgia, Michigan, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. And we still continue in other states to do our broader work, but we're going into these 5 states, going deep around the comedy tour and making folks laugh. Laughter can heal all things. It really can, stress at least. And so that's been something that has been great so far. Just for folks to just stop for a minute and laugh and say, we in this together, we in this fight together. And that is something we got to do more of so that we can make sure that we think about the wellness of our people as we fight these real serious battles. We got to live to see the results of them.
Okay. And LaTosha, you've had your bus out there, or is it buses, but all over. Tell us a little bit, what states have you been traveling in? What are you seeing out there as you travel?
So let me say this. One, I just want to lift up Melanie and the National Coalition on Black Civic Participation because we're a member of the Unity Campaign. I think part of the other piece that I think Melanie her leadership has been amazing is at holding space and creating space for many different groups to work together. And we're one of those groups that work with other organizations in the states that we've been working. So we've been passing sales in the night in many of the same states so that we can layer this work. And so we've been in all the fun states. Texas, we started in Texas, and we've been in Missouri and Wisconsin, which are not normal states. There's states that we haven't done a lot of work in, but there's some critical elections happening in Wisconsin and in Missouri right now. So we've been in Missouri, Wisconsin, Ohio. We're just leaving Pennsylvania and Ohio, heading North Carolina. We're in Florida, Georgia, Louisiana. We're in 13 states that we've been going, and we do have multiple buses. We have 2 big buses, and we got a couple of baby buses running around. In each of the states that we work in, part of our model is in each of the states that we work in, we work with anywhere between 25 and 85 small grassroots Black-led organizations that we've been supporting and funding and coordinating with. As we're really be able to spread our outreach to our community and build out this ecosystem and building capacity. The second thing that we've been doing is in our campaign. I always say we do 3 things: is money, mobilization, and message. And so part of our message this campaign is with the rise of white supremacy and white nationalism, and trying to really racialize this process to make it appear that something you can't even see Black Lives Matter, that in some way Black Lives Matter in itself is a problem, which is why we literally, our campaign is called We Won't Black Down. And you heard it correctly, not back down. We won't black down. Not only are we not backing down, but we're not blacking down. We're going to lean into the rich organizing history in the Black community. We're going to talk to our folks. We're not going to let this voter suppression deter us. We're actually going to go harder in the paint. And so that's why we're out here with our campaign. People can learn more about it on our website, our We Want Black Down campaign. In addition to that, in Georgia, places like Georgia, we had a call the other day with our partners. I think we had over 48 partners on the call, and we're working with 85 in the state of Georgia. There are a couple of things that we're doing. We're really heavily focusing on these rural communities that oftentimes there's a lot of energy and resources in the metro area. But if you look at something, what has happened in previous elections, that literally there are Black folks, y'all, that live in these rural communities, these suburban communities that can make a difference. So we're putting a lot of focus and energy on the entire ecosystem of the state, not just the urban centers, but also in the rural areas. We're also layering that where we've got hundreds of thousands of text messages that we're sending out every day. In the state of Georgia, early voting started today. So literally, we want to make sure people have voter education to know what is happening. And then we've got a specific piece that we've been doing with young people with a partnership with HBCU Go, where we have literally been going to the HBCU games. Some of them have been the classic games, literally reminding our people how critical this election is, giving them election information and reminding them this ain't the season, y'all. We can't black down, not in this season. We got to keep it moving.
That's wonderful. Both these campaigns sound absolutely tremendous, and it looks like, from what I have been gathering, is that people are out there ready to vote. People are coming out to vote early in those states that have early voting. So we're going to wrap up soon. I have one final question. Are there any predictions you want to make about the election results? Are you enthusiastic, cautiously optimistic? What do you think we're going to see in some of these states?
Yeah, let me say, I predict we're going to have the first African-American woman as a governor in the state, in this country. That the state of Georgia, just like we've surprised the world before, once again, we coming back, and we're going to come back strong. I think that we're going to have at least one woman in the Senate. I'm hoping that we're going to have one Black woman, hopefully two. But in the U.S. Senate, I think that we're going to possibly have a Black man who will lead the state of Wisconsin. Can you believe it? I think that it's very possible that can happen. I believe that it's going to be very challenging, I think, for the Democrats to hold on to the House, quite frankly. But I do think that I think the Democrats will be able to hold on to the Senate. I think it's going to be a tight race. Unfortunately, I wish I believed that the election is going to be over on election day, but I do not. I think this is going to be a long, drawn out, slugging battle, because I do believe voter suppression and some of the laws that they've put in place are going to try to kick in, to try to overturn results, to question results, particularly when there's going to be some upsets. And so that's what my prediction. My prediction is November 8th is just going to be phase one to a longer process that we're going to have to make sure that we are continuing to fight and be on the front lines.
I do know a lot of what LaTosha said. I think it will be about, I think we're going to have a mixed results, a mixed bag of where we're going in this country. And ultimately, because of what the climate is already set for there to be these attacks on the results. Mm-hmm. So we've seen the playbook, and it's expanded when you have people who are running on that to become secretaries of state. I'm real concerned about some of those races that we really, under those sort of statewide races where we have the ability to have impact, that who controls the elections process is under attack. And that's setting up for how you could have a one-party rule system in this country when you can just change the results because you don't like them. So, and also, I believe that we're going to show up as we always have had to do, and be ready to keep fighting against those who feel that they can just put us to the back of the bus, or less, not even have a bus, and we're not going back.
Not going back.
In closing, I wanna thank both LaTosha and Melanie for joining us. I want to ask you to tell people how they can follow you. Where should they get information if they want to get involved in your GOTV efforts? If they just want to follow your organizations, tell us where they can get involved.
Unitycampaign.org. Unitycampaign.org. If they Google Black Women's Roundtable, they'll see a lot of stuff. But unitycampaign.org for the election is where they can connect with us, get involved, find out information, donate. We're still raising money in any way that they want to support, and just find, if nothing else, to find information so they can make sure they can vote and have that vote protected in 2022.
LaTosha?
The same thing. Go to our website, Black Voters Matter Fund, FUND.org. You can also catch us on all social media. We are posting live views from the sites and the stops that we're making. So come on, join the tour virtually. You can go to Black Voters Matter MTR. Black Voters MTR on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all of the social media platforms. We're there. You can follow my Twitter, Facebook, IG, which is Miss LaTosha Brown, MS LaTosha Brown. But you can find us, Black Voters Matter. We are here 365 days out of the year. Can't stop, won't stop, and we won't black down.
Thank you, both of you. For everybody who hasn't voted yet, please make sure you do vote. Some states have early voting. Check on that. Check and see if your state and if they have early voting and when that early voting starts. Make sure you get out there. Make a plan to vote. Make sure you get your friends, your family members to also come out and vote. It is extremely important that we do cast our ballots. Make sure and follow. Make sure that your ballot is being counted. Get involved, as both LaTosha and Melanie mentioned. You can get involved with them. And so I want to just tell people, if you want to get more information about In Our Own Voice and what we are doing, we have a campaign that is called I Am a Reproductive Justice Voter. We are working on some HBCU campuses as well. And a lot of our activists on those campuses are involved in the Unity Vote campaign. So get involved in that. And you can reach us on @BlackRJ on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. Please turn out to vote on November 8th or in early voting. It is really important. And I just want to once again say that voting is important to getting reproductive justice for all of our people. That means ensuring that women and birthing people have control over their own bodies, ensuring that everyone who is eligible to vote is allowed to vote and hasn't been purged from the voting rolls or some other inane reason that they won't be able to vote. We've got to make sure that all of our people are activists and ready to vote. And so I want to thank everyone today. Thank you very much, Melanie. Thank you very much, LaTosha, for joining us. We are getting close, folks. We don't have a lot more time. Please make sure everyone you know is going to come out and vote. This is a critical election to protect our democracy and to help us plan for the future. As both of them said, this is just the first step. We're going to have some serious conversations with elected officials about how they live up to their promises that they make to us in every election. And we will need to hold them accountable for our votes. Once we vote, we're going to have to hold them accountable for actually doing what they say they're going to do. So again, I want to thank everybody for joining us today. And please make sure you vote.
We are in sunny South Dallas. The election is coming up.
It's super important that folks know who they are voting for, but more importantly, what they are voting for. Y'all, we got the free shirts and free lunch right over here.
Freedom is our birthright. No matter what we're up against, we're sending a message in Dallas and Texas and in this country. We won't black down. That's what this bus tour is all about.
The housing cost is one of the most capitalized areas that we have found. People who are marginalized, that are brown and black, we are suffering the most, and I think that we have the biggest vote and the biggest impact in this election.
I'm voting for affordable housing, for sure.
We should not be paying the cost of a utility failure because our elected officials are too proud to say we need help.
I know that we can bring out our people to vote. It's a part of our birthright. Right. It's a part of our heritage, and surely it's a part of our present and part of our future.
That's right. That's what's up. And we won't black down. Forward that message to 5 friends, because in that message it's got links to how to get registered, how to check your registration status.
Like I said, 2:30 we'll start rendezvousing right here on this street. I am voting to let our voice be heard in the rural communities that, hey, we are people too. There are things that we need.
Free shirts, free food, and lots of power.
We are in Longview, Texas, where Black Voters Matter, 365.
Whatever type of oppression a white supremacist throws our way, we will not black down. We are in relentless pursuit of liberation of our people.
Freedom is liberation for black bodies and black communities to make economic change through political power.
Freedom is choice.
We won't black down.
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 We won't black down.